Coach Prime is taking a big swing on another elite defensive back, and it could pay huge dividends for the Colorado Buffaloes. Let's get into what's going on and what you need to know right now. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for joining us today. Five-star cornerback Charles Lester III is on campus right now on an official visit, visiting Coach Prime and the Buffaloes. Lester is a five-star corner out of Sarasota, Florida. He's a defensive back that is 6'2", 171 pounds. Recently transferred high schools, which is interesting, from Riverview High School over to Venice. For those not familiar, that is only about an hour away from Coach Prime's hometown of Fort Myers, Florida. Playing the same position and being from the same area are not the only two things that these two have in common. Charles Lester is absolutely elite. We'll get into more about him in just a moment. But for a long time now, Charles Lester has been thought to be a Florida State lean. Many have projected him to be a Florida State Seminole. Both national and local guys there in Tallahassee think that the Seminoles have been in a good spot for him for a long time. And Lester even came out and recently said that the Seminoles were his leader. Naming someone your leader publicly is the closest thing you can do to committing. Some Seminole fans, you guys know that I am, have even thought that Lester is a silent commit. But Coach Prime has a history here and obviously has a history with Florida State. Florida State fans right now are more than worried. Though Lester has visited Florida State more than 2 times more than he's visited anywhere else, Florida State fans are a little bit worried. Obviously, flashbacks of the Travis Hunter saga and what Coach Prime was able to pull and do there are fresh in Florida State fans' minds, as that's only been about a year and a half since Hunter flipped on signing day. Now, Lester isn't committed to the Seminoles, and so this is a little bit different than that situation. Lester is taking some visits to not only Colorado, but Georgia and Florida State next week. So I do think that this is a very different situation. But Lester is on campus right now, seems to be very much enjoying his time, and he did tweet, "I'm coming." Now, that's not a commitment tweet. I know a lot of people question, is he committed? No, that is Colorado's phrase. That's the same as tweeting "Go Dogs" if he was at UGA, or "Keep climbing" if he was in Tallahassee, or something like that. So let's not freak out just yet. Let's not say that he's in the boat. But I do think that this is interesting. I think that seeing him there in the picture, as you can see on screen with Coach Prime, Coach Cal, I think that this is a lot of fun to monitor, a lot of fun to watch. Charles Lester being from the same hometown as Coach Prime, playing the same position as Coach Prime, and now hanging out with Colorado in those clean Colorado threads. Those visit pictures look like he's enjoying his time, look like he's having a lot of fun. Certainly the fact that the greatest defensive back of all time is the one hosting him is something that Colorado fans should be very, very excited about. This, to me, is a UGA-FSU Colorado battle. He visits FSU next weekend, and then he goes to UGA the weekend after that. He wants to take his recruitment into December, so I don't think we're going to have another update on this super soon. I don't see him committing to Colorado, Florida State, or UGA before then. Obviously, things change. Sometimes kids change their plans, but I think this one is going to go down to the wire. Lester is a phenomenal athlete. I've spoken at him at length on the Florida State channel that I do. I think he's clearly one of the best defensive back prospects of the class. Obviously, being a 5-star probably lends itself and you guys to trust that kind of automatically, but he's got absolutely everything you want in a cornerback. He's long, he's super athletic, he moves very, very well, he closes very, very well. He plays both sides of the ball. He's got great ball skills as a wide receiver on the offensive side of the ball as well. He's that talented. He's also got that tenacity that you want in a corner, that bulldog mentality, that kid that's just absolutely not going to let you win certainly the game, but not even a play or a rep. When you see him in camps and stuff, he is that shutdown guy. He would make a massive difference for any program he went to, whether it be a program like Georgia, who's coming off of back-to-back national titles, a program like Florida State that's on the rise, or a program like Colorado, which Coach Prime is working and looking to rebuild. He's a day one guy from the start. at most of these programs, and he would be an absolute gem if Coach Prime could get him to commit to this class. I want to talk more about him and the relationship with Coach Prime, but first, I want to give some love to our friends over at Gramco. I've told you guys about Gramco in the past. They're a Delta 8 company out of the great state of Florida, where I am located, where Charles Lester is from, where Coach Prime is from. If you've not tried their Delta 8 products just yet, do me a favor, go to thegramco.com, use code PRIMETIME, that's all one word, PRIMETIME, and you'll get 20% off of your order. We appreciate Gramco for their support, appreciate them for being on board and rocking with us here at the Prime Time for College Football. They've got some blue raspberry gummies that are my absolute favorite. The flavor on them is phenomenal. They will get you where you need to get. I'll just say it like that. Make sure that you're checking out thegramco.com for all of their great products. Make sure you're filling up the comments with letting us know how you enjoyed them and how you like them. Okay, back to Lester. I think this is the biggest thing to me. Florida State has a lead here. I would say that Florida State is still the favorite to land Charles Lester, but where I think Colorado separates themselves and where I think that they're in a phenomenal position for him is the Coach Prime effect. I think the opportunity and the chance to learn from and play for the greatest defensive back and greatest corner of all time is something that has paid huge, huge dividends for Coach Prime already and could for Charles Lester. When asked about why he was visiting and what he wanted to get from the visit, he talked about things that I think are uncommon for a high school athlete to talk about. He talked about wanting to learn from Coach Prime, and he talked about wanting that influence and wanting to know more about just kind of his mindset and what was going on and see what he had going on out there in Boulder. And I think that's uncommon. I think guys visit for a lot of reasons, but I think that Lester's got a really, really good head on his shoulders. I think that it's smart for him to take multiple visits because this is a decision that, again, not only is going to last him for 2 or 3 years while he's in college and playing football, but for 40 years, right? Like, this is going to shape the rest of his life and his future. And Coach Prime obviously has a history of being in the NFL, understanding talent, understanding how to develop talent, and understanding how to get guys where they want to go. Obviously, you think of guys like Travis Hunter, Cormani McClain. Pulling in 5-star corners is probably just as natural to Coach Prime as brushing his teeth or waking up in the morning and put his pants on, right? Like, Coach Prime understands how to relate to these guys because he's been in their shoes. He's done what they're trying to do. He's been an all-star at every single level, from high school to college to the NFL, where he is obviously a Hall of Famer. I think the opportunity to play for someone like that is really, really special to guys, and I think it's something that Charles Lester is strongly considering. I, again, would call this a Florida State, UGA, and Colorado battle. I do think that Ohio State, Alabama are kind of your fringe teams that might make things interesting here or there. But to me, it's Florida State, UGA, Colorado. And can Coach Prime pull somebody like Charles Lester? Well, look back at the last 2 classes. He was able to pull the number 1 corner in both of those classes. Charles Lester is not rated as the number 1 corner in the country, but when you watch his film, when you see what he's going to do this senior year, he may end up close to that by the time this season is done. Not ready to put this kid on flip watch yet, but I do think there is a long way to go. I think what will be really, really important is where he visits post-summer, where he visits in the fall. How many times does he make it to Tallahassee? How many times does he make it to Boulder? How many times does he make it to Athens? Obviously, Tallahassee, much closer than those other 2 places. Colorado is the most distance, and this is his official visit, so he'd have to make those other trips of his own accord, on his own dime, if that still happens anymore in college athletics. So we'll see. We'll see if he can get back out there, if he visits Colorado 2-3 more times, or maybe twice, one in the fall, one after the season. I think that could bode very, very well for Colorado. If he ends up visiting Florida State more often, or UGA, follow the visits and see where he ends up. I want to know what you guys think. Let's talk about it down in the comments. Where do you think Lester ends up? Can Coach Prime pull, again, a once thought Florida State lean, or maybe even Florida State silent commit away from the Noles again? Can Coach Prime pull another elite defensive back from the state of Florida? Let's talk about it down in the comments. I love hearing you guys' thoughts. I love interacting with you guys. So let's talk about it down below. If you missed our video on Coach Prime clapping back at Pittsburgh's head coach Pat Narduzzi, you absolutely need to watch that. We go into why Coach Prime is different than other coaches and why the way he clapped back was something that you just never see in college football. If you missed that, click right here to watch it. Thank you guys, as always, for watching the Prime Time for college football.